The 100, ball underneath the heels and pump the arms up and down. Abs are pulling in. Keep pumping the arms. Turn to the side. Setting up for the half roll back. Ball in between the knees. Curl under and roll back, squeezing that ball and using your biceps. Grab the ball, turn to your side, lay onto your back. In all of our transitions, when working with a new postpartum mama, you must turn to your side just so they don't put too much pressure on their abdominals. The rollover. Ball underneath the butt, legs come up, they tilt towards your shoulders. You separate the legs out wide, together, and back up. Really put emphasis on trying to flex the feet to lengthen out the hamstrings, which get very tight. And then reverse. Bend the knees. Grab the ball from up under you. Turn to your side. Ball goes into your right hand as you keep the right knee bent. So ball in the right hand, right knee bent, and you do your circles with your left leg. So opposite hand, opposite leg. This helps keep the pelvis stable. And tell your client to press the back of the bra line down and navel pull the spine. And of course, you do the same thing on the other side. Turn to your side. Make your way up to a seat. Grab your ball, place it in between your kneecaps for rolling like a ball. Hands under the knees, ball in between, and balance for 10 seconds. Grab your ball. Place it at the small of your lower back. This is just another fun option to do for rolling like a ball. It gives you a little bit more lower back support, which is really, really nice. Legs can be separated as you just balance again for an additional 10 seconds. It allows you to also bring your legs a little close together, and maybe you can walk your hands further down towards your ankles. Grab your ball. Turn onto your side. Place the ball into your hands now for our series of 5. This is single leg stretch. Bring one leg in towards your chest, the other one at a high 45. You pull, and you switch. As you're pulling, you pulse the ball in and out. And you want to think about using your diaphragm and your breath for this. Double leg stretch. Ball stays into the hand. Try to reach the ball towards the ankles as you extend the legs out at a 45 and the arms reach away near the ears. Scissor legs. Right leg comes up. Left leg reaches away. Keep the arms in line with the shoulders. And you try to pulse, and switch. Pulse, and switch. Putting emphasis on the pulse of the ball. You can always flex your feet as you're doing scissors just to give you an extra stretch in the hamstrings. Go ahead and place the ball underneath your butt for a double leg lower lift. Bring one leg up, then the other, and the hands go at the back of the skull. Really just make sure that that ball is truly on your tailbone. And sometimes you got to maneuver it a little bit. Knees bent. Lower the legs to a 45 or however low you can go while keeping your abdominals pulled in. It's imperative that your abs don't bulge or your lower back starts to feel unsupported, because if it does, that means you're going too low. You can always straighten the legs as your client starts to progress. Bend the knees now. Place the feet down, turn to one side, grab the ball for crisscross. I'm going to reposition my body so you can see me a little bit better. Place the ball into your right hand and place it onto your left thigh. You'll then place your left hand behind your head and exhale, press into the ball. Inhale, release. And press and release. It's a nice co-contraction of the abdominals. You can then bring your left leg to tabletop and press your knee into the ball as your hand presses into the ball to really feel a nice, deep abdominal engagement. And you switch. And eventually you'll be able to lift your client's head up and they'll feel it a lot more. Turn to your side. Come up. For spine stretch forward. Grab the ball into your hands and press your hands into the ball and squeeze and sit up and release. Squeeze and sit up. Think about growing away from the earth with your spine. So there's a puppet string coming from your head. Option 2, place the ball onto the floor and you roll it forward. Again, I like this version of flexion because it's a good stretch for your back. And also your hips are stable. You're also coming in and out of that flexion. So the key, at least what I'm finding, is that flexion is okay as long as you're not staying in it. You're going in it and then you're immediately coming out of it relatively quickly. So I like that versus just hanging out in that deep flexion, which is why you're keeping your head down when you do the series of 5, by the way. Option 3, place the ball onto the floor and you press into the ball, really pulling your navel in towards the spine, and you're releasing that tension. And you exhale, press, inhale, release. Now, we grab the ball, place it at the small of our lower back, setting up for open leg rocker. Extend one leg up, then the other, and then the left leg up and the other. And then you reach for your ankle or your calf, whatever you can grab, the other leg. Make sure your legs don't go any wider than the width of your hips, and you just hold that for a sec. Then you can find mini rocks, maybe like 2 centimeters forward and back, just to start to build some strength in your lower abdominals. Feet come down, and you will grab the ball. Place the ball underneath your butt, find tabletop, and corkscrew. Sway your legs in one direction, and then keep going that direction, and then eventually you'll reverse, or you could alternate. You have options here. The key component is that the palms stay connected to the floor, and the palms stay connected to the floor, rather, and you keep the back of the rib cage heavy as you do your circles. Make sure you reverse and go the other way. You can even add a little minor hip lift if it feels good for your body. Bend the knees, come to one side, grab the ball, and sit up. We'll go right into saw. Press your hands into the ball, rotate towards your right, and then center, and then rotate left and center. Keep the hips stable. Think about rotating from the rib cage more so than the hips. Another option that you can do for Saw is you place the ball into the floor, you keep one hand near your hip, and you roll it forward, give you a nice stretch, and then return. You can alternate or you can stay on one side before you go to the other. And it's nice because it gives you opportunity to, again, find your abdominals and stretch your hips and your lower back at the same time. And the next one is swan. So you want your right hand onto the ball with your right elbow onto the mat, left arm extended. And the elbow helps assist you as you press into the ball to lift your heart up and come back down. It protects the overstretching of the lower abdominals and it allows you to strengthen your upper back because it's very much upper back focused, which is really nice. And I like that a lot. I think your mamas would appreciate it too. And you switch. It also works you unilaterally a little bit because you're working one lat at a time, which is really good for opening up the shoulders and building strength more than anything else because we get so weak after we have that baby or while we're pregnant sometimes because we're just tired. Now I'm going to show the full swan variation. So you make a diamond with your hands and place your hands onto the ball. Forehead starts down and you exhale, press, look one direction, roll your neck around in a circle and then the other. And then you lower your head and chest back down. I'll show it one more time. Press, lift up, you look, roll around, you look the other way, roll around, and then come all the way back down. Okay, we now have our single leg kick. So you kick with one leg and back. So it's the same setup for your swan with the neck roll. It's just that now you're keeping your head and chest lifted, shoulders away from the ears, and you're trying to kick your bum, all while keeping your hip bones pressing down. Good stretch for the quads and psoas, which are often tight during this time because you've been sitting a lot. And they might feel a little bit even overstretched, but not in the way that you would traditionally think. It's just because you were holding that baby up. Double leg kick. You'll place your hands behind your back. Very similar concept to the regular way. You just don't lift your chest as high. So you shorten the range of motion. So a lot of these exercises you can do, you just might have to shorten how much you do them in regards to how high you come, how much you rotate, just all about the depth of them. But very similar concept. Okay. We now have neck pull. So the ball will go right at the small of your lower back. Want to make sure it's positioned in a way that feels good for your body. Legs can be straight, but that may or may not work for your mom. So you might have to bend her knees a little bit. I'm showing it with straight leg just because my body feels okay with that, but they may not. So you might want to bend the knees. And you just focus on the spinal articulation from the lower back. Only go as far back as you can keep your abdominals pulling in. If you see them starting to bulge, and that's why I put my hand on my belly, then you are going too low. So you just, again, shorten the range of motion. Another option, put the ball at the back of the skull and hold on to it with the elbows wide. You'll then round forward in the exhale and inhale, come up. Again, I like this form of flexion because you go in it and you come back out of it. Flexion is just something that you can't avoid because if you're a human and you got to bend down and grab something, whatever the case is, you're going to flex the spine and you're going to rotate it. So why not learn how to do it in a way that is effective for your body when you're doing everyday activities? All right, we now go to our side lying series. Oh, no, excuse me, bridging, almost forgot. Ball goes in between the inner thighs, hands down by your sides, and you articulate the spine and you lift your hips up and come back down. I like the ball in between the legs because it helps you engage your inner thighs, and that is a part of your powerhouse. And you need your powerhouse for good core engagement and helping you build your posture. So even though you're laying on your back, it's a great tool or thing to use when trying to help your mama regain core engagement and pelvic and use of her pelvic floor muscles. Then you can go into a single leg option, which then allows her to press into the ball as she lifts one leg up. Again, helping her engage her pelvic floor muscles. So we talked about that earlier. Hope you can remember what those muscles are. But in case you forgot, your genitals, your anus, or I guess you can call butt muscles, and and as well as your diaphragm. Go ahead and take the ball out from under you, turn to your side, and now we'll go to our side kick series. So have the ball onto one hand and press into the ball, and side kick series front back. Very, very similar and pretty much the same. Nothing really changes as far as the execution for a postpartum client when doing the side kick series. It's just that ball gives you that extra core strength here a little bit that just putting your hand on the floor may or may not. It challenges her a little bit more in a way that she needs because it creates that compression. I will also say having the bottom knee bent widens her base of support so she can feel more stable. So that's pretty much the only change. You just go through all of the exercises the same way. These are our circles. This is hot potato. You can do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You can do 3, 2, 1. You have so many options with the counting. You could do 8 times before you come up and switch. Again, the key here is keeping our hips facing forward and stacked and pressing into that ball. Inner thigh lifts and lowers. Nothing changes here as well, other than maybe starting with the knee bent and you lift and lower it before you extend that bottom leg out. All right, and then you turn to the other side and repeat. So you won't hear me talking much other than, again, making sure that your hand is pressing into the ball, hips are stacked, bottom knee can be bent, and you go through the same progressions as you would for any of the inner thigh or outer thigh workout for your side kick series. That can include hot potato, that can include passe, scissors, it's all the same. Bicycle, it's all the same, whatever you want to add here. Okay, it's now teaser time. So I'm on my forearms and ball between my knees, and I just lift and lower my heels. This is kind of similar to teaser one, just moving the lower half of my body here a little bit. And then I'll go into teaser one still, and I'm just progressing it just a hair. I'm allowing my feet to touch the floor each time. And then teaser two, I'll squeeze the ball, and I'll just shorten the range here, squeezing that ball a little bit more, lower my legs down an inch and up an inch here. Trying to still press through my elbows, shoulders away from the ears, squeezing that ball to keep me in my abdominals and not my hip flexors. Okay? Now this is can-can, little extra add-on here. You don't have to lift the legs, but you can hover them off the floor a little bit. And that little hover, I promise you, if you try it, it is impactful. So don't sleep on the baby hover. All right, we then flipped onto our belly now for swimming. Ball goes underneath the right hand as the left leg lifts up, maybe to the height of the hip. Not super high. What we're looking for is length in opposition. So you're pressing into that ball, lifting the heart, and reaching the ball and your leg away from your body. Okay? And I switch each time. So we do a right hand, then left hand. And again, it's about the lift and the reach. They work hand in hand. So you must stretch the body as you lift up. And that ball just gives you a little bit more assistance here into staying into your abs instead of you being lackadaisical with it. Setting up for leg pull front. So your arms are in line with your shoulders, knees can be bent, and you'll just think about rocking your body forward and back. That's it. Abs are in. You can always progress it by straightening the legs if you choose and rocking forward and back. You don't have to, though. You can always put the ball in between your knees as well. That's always a good option when trying to re-engage the inner thigh and pelvic floor muscles to create strength that was probably lost during your pregnancy. All right, and then we flip on over for leg pull back. So similar setup to teaser, except this time you're thinking about lifting the hips up and down here. So I balled up my fist because oftentimes mama's wrists feel really tender, maybe because of carpal tunnel. So balling up the fist kind of helps protect the wrist a little bit. And you just lower and lift the hips. Think of coming into like a table pose almost. Then once you find that nice table, you can shift the body forward and back. We now have our side kneeling series. Same setup. Your arm is in line with your shoulder, knee in line with hip, and you kick forward and back. And you switch. So nothing different or anything changes here. Just again, think about cueing the length in opposition, and just know that some days are different than others, and some mamas might be tighter than others, and that's okay. Grab your ball once again, setting up for mermaid. Let's Z-sit so you can have more space within your body because the hips might be a little tight. And place the ball into your right hand and press into it and lean towards your right. and return. It's about stretching the side body. Try to keep your left knee anchored and pressing down the entire time. You do that a few times before you switch to the other side. All right. So now that we're done our mermaids, we then turn to one side. Okay. Dive your hands in between for seal. Again, we just focus on the balance aspect of the exercise. You won't roll back yet. You can probably start introducing rolling maybe around 4 to 5 months, depending on your clients. Some you might even wait till 6 months after their postpartum. It's truly case by case. You got to use your own eye and your judgment, and they'll also be able to tell you. So listen to them as well. They'll be able to kind of sense and feel it out. And this is control balance. So now place the ball underneath the butt, and you want to reach for your left leg with your right hand, and you alternate and switch. You're just really focusing on straightening out the legs as best as you can. If you have the flexibility and you can get your foot all the way to the floor without lifting the butt, go for it. It's just that the ball allows you to elevate your butt so you're able to still gradually progress into that exercise. Up, bend the knees, turn onto your side as we go into our push-up series. So you won't need the ball, but you can have it if you like. You can start with the knees down and bang out a few push-ups here. And then you can curl the toes under, finding that downward facing dog. Knees come down, walk back out with the arms and your push-ups. And then shift the body weight back. Find your downward facing dog. It's a nice way to just kind of stretch out your body and also strengthen the shoulders. Then as you progress, you can lift the knees off the floor. And shift back. And you can start to walk the hands in if that feels good. Again, flexion, but you're not hanging out there. And rise all the way up. And that was your postpartum mat.